Hey guys, if you liked the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Appreciate you. Now let's get to it.
Average Gamer signing on back with another video. Today, man, it's time I speak facts, alright? It's time I speak facts to the people, man. My favorite series of all time, my favorite franchise of all time, Ratchet and Clank, man. Gotta do a tier list of every game. I think I know a decent bit, you know? We're probably gonna go... do I want to go in order that they came out or just this order? I'm gonna go in the order I want, okay? Because there are definitely some controversial opinions here, but again, I gotta speak facts to the people. But before then, I'm seeing some things here, so what we're gonna do, let's get these out the way, because some of these I did not play or did not play enough to actually have a thorough opinion on. I'm pretty sure you can guess which ones those are. Secret Agent Clank, did not play but heard it was terrible. Going mobile, like, I think I played like 5 minutes of it. It was like, whatever. Not enough to have an opinion. And Before the Nexus. I'm pretty sure this was also a phone game, right? Wasn't that the Subway Surfer one? I think it was. I'm just gonna say that it was. Alright, which one are we gonna start with? Should we start spicy or... I gotta speak facts to the people. Okay, we're gonna start easy, just so I get some credibility from the people, man. Gotta make sure the people know that I'm coming in good faith. Ratchet and Clank, going commando. S tier, no question. Actually, I have it in my top 10 favorite games of all time. Not to mention, I think it's the best Ratchet and Clank game, period. But we will talk about that later, because I'll order them within the tiers after I get everything set away. But I just think this game, okay, this is my bias, but I typically give extra credit to games that evolve to like noticeable extents and succeed. And Ratchet 2 pretty much dwarfs Ratchet 1 in every regard. Voice acting's better. I think the story is a little bit more cohesive. The length dwarfs it while still maintaining great gameplay. Looks better. I think it's far more replayable. Planet variety is pretty good. I like the weapons more. Like everything, I just like more. Planets like, what was that planet called? Groban? The one with like the snow level and the desert level. Having those to break up the monotony of the usual gameplay to essentially have collectathons was definitely a nice touch. What was it called? Oh, I'm just gonna call them ship missions. I don't know like what they were actually called. Probably my favorite ship missions of the entire series. Granted, ship missions are always like the weakest, but I like them in Going Commando the best. Yeah, this game is literally the best. To be honest, I don't even think, well, there's one that comes close, but I think this one is better. Alright. We started with the best, so I guess we can start off with the worst. Next up. And yeah. Size matters. Now granted, when I played this game, it was on the PS2 port, so that may have messed up the experience, but I just don't like this game. The only thing that I can say that I liked about it, I thought the armor sets thing, I think that was pretty cool. And I think like that like dream sequence or like dream world part that you were in, I think that was cool. Everything else sucks. The final boss sucks. It looks bad. The movement is clunky. The writing's not the worst, but like it's not good. The weapons are bad and relatively forgettable, except for like the beehive one. I think that one was kind of funny. Also, there was like a gadget that made you like water plants to traverse obstacles. That was pretty good. So essentially we have 2 memorable things and the rest is garbage. This game sucks. I would never play it again. I'm surprised that I actually beat it. Period. But yeah, I just don't like it. Actually, I kind of like that. Best worst. I like that. Let's keep that going. And we can kind of order it that way too. Yeah, let's keep doing. Let's do that. Next up, we got Cracking Time, man. This game's great. It's the only game that I think challenges Going Commando. Again, the most innovative since Ratchet and Clank 2, and it worked. So I give it a lot of extra credit. Having Ratchet and Clank separate, really haven't done that since Deadlocked, and I think it worked out far better than Deadlocked did, because the Clank, you actually get sections to play as Clank, and Clank is clearly like, these are clearly the best Clank sections in the series. Sped up movement, the Scepter gives him more melee options, all the time trials with his clones and what have you. All of it is fantastic. The story, I mean, we'll talk about it more when we talk about Tools of Destruction, because it continues the story from that game. But I kind of was never a fan of like the retcon stuff, but if I isolate it, the story's fine. Like, the writing's not bad at all. Azimuth is a great character. I really don't have much of a problem with him. The ship gameplay was fun. Not necessarily like the ship battles. Again, I think Ratchet 2 is better in that regard. But just the idea of like traveling to the different planets yourself, going on, completing like side missions, going to the battle arena, going on different moons to collect Zoni and things like that. That part I really liked. The weapons. I don't know if this is a hot take. It might be. I don't think we'll talk about this again with Tools of Destruction, but I don't think the weapons are like that great. They're fine. I think honestly what helps them out is the customization and the mod things. I think that is really where the weapons shine. The weapons by themselves are not that great, but the fact that you can customize them really sells me on them. So I think that's good. Why is it not better? I think the soundtrack is worse than Ratchet 2. So it's still good, right? It fits the theme of the game pretty well in my opinion, but it's just not my favorite. Not having Towin in this game is very weird. Granted, I don't want to say that's a negative, but it's just so noticeable that Towin's not in this game, and her like entire story is not finished, which is like weird. So that's kind of bad, in my opinion. But I guess to counteract that, I mean, Ratchet and Clank, they're probably the best they've ever been. Character-wise, the level of maturity they have, their constant drive to see each other again, I mean, I think that worked very well. So, the criticisms I have are minor, but they're enough for me to place Ratchet 2 over it. Yeah. Moving on. Next up, what is the second worst? We clearly have two options here, in my opinion. I'm gonna say Full Frontal Assault. I'm not gonna say I dislike this game. I think it's one of those games that's just like not for me, and I can easily see someone else loving it, if that makes sense. Like, the entire gameplay gimmick of it is just not my thing. The fact that you have to constantly go back and regain your weapons every level, the fact that you have to go back to your base is annoying. Like it's just not my kind of game. The final boss battle is okay though, I'll give it that. And the villain itself is like, I mean, that was a guy from Ratchet 2, you know, it's cool. It's a cool callback, but I wish it was better because the writing of particularly, well, really everyone, but especially the villain is just cringy. I can't even remember the guy's name. But the writing was just so weird. Co-op, I mean, for that kind of game, I can definitely see why people would enjoy it, but I didn't. Well, I'm not gonna say that I didn't enjoy it. I prefer co-op over single player for this game, but is it the best co-op the series has had? No. And above all else, the killer for any Ratchet and Clank game is if it gets repetitive. And this game, despite being short, is repetitive as hell. And it gets that way very early on, so I think that's automatic D tier. Back to the top, man. Third best game of the series. Maybe a hot take here. I know some of you may be thinking, oh, Tools of Destruction, up your arsenal. These two I always see people put high. I'll be honest, man. I have Rift Apart as the third best game in the series. I think the length of the game is solid. I think the pacing of the story is actually pretty well, which I definitely fear because you're switching back between Rivet and Clank and then Ratchet and Kit. I think the whole twist of like Kit and Rivet knowing each other is fine. I think that was well done. I think the weapons are relatively solid. Not my favorite in the series, but definitely not the worst. Probably around like top 5 to 7. Well, let's get this out of the way. It's the best looking game in the series by far. I think it's the best gameplay series of the series by far. Pretty much because it takes what was in Tools of Destruction, takes what was in Crack in Time, and cranks it up. Obviously, it's the PS5, so that makes sense. Also has the best armor in the entire story. Well, franchise, excuse me. So many armor selections. The fact that you can take the helmet off is so freaking good. All the colors and customization is great. The free roam worlds like Savali, they're also good, but of course Savali is the best one in my opinion. But they also have like Sargasso, which was a callback to earlier games, obviously. And then the Rhino, dude. The references they put with the Rhino is crazy. Don't get me wrong, it's not my favorite Rhino. But just having all those references is very funny. The only negative I have about this game is honestly just its writing. It's pretty childish. It's like one of like a Disney animated, it's like Disney animated movie level of childish. Like it's some mess I would expect off of like Toy Story, and like it's kind of cringy until you get to like Dr. Nefarious. Then it's great, and the new Dr. Nefarious is great too. The one from Rivet's Dimension, absolutely great. By far the best villain in the series in my opinion. I think he's even better than the original Dr. Nefarious, even though we only get him for like half a game. So yeah, I love the game. I actually think it is better than Up Your Arsenal. I think it's better than Tools of Destruction. I think it's better than Deadlocked. I think it's better than the original, man. Oh, also, the soundtrack, kind of mid. But best looking game, best playing game. Savali, one of the better free roam worlds. Plant variety is solid. Weapons are solid. Pretty much everything beyond the writing is like top 5, in my opinion, or just top 1. So that's why it ranks 3rd. But I think the writing and soundtrack hold it back, essentially. Next up, so this would be the 3rd worst. I'm gonna go all for one. I don't really dislike this game. But for me, it just has to be played in co-op. Like, I played it single. I played it co-op with some friends. Like, in co-op, it's actually not that bad. But in single, it's kind of rough. Because the AI sometimes, like, struggles to respond to certain things. The weapons, not great. The gameplay, not great. Probably the worst character models in the series, probably. Maybe these games had it worse, but I didn't play them. The Rhino suit, I actually think had the potential to be really good, but I think it's just so wasted because, like, the ammo count is, like, so low, which I don't understand why. Like, the Rhino's supposed to go burr, but, like, I go, like, 1 burr, you know? I can't spam, which really sucks. The writing's not my favorite either. I don't think it's the worst in the series, but, it just seems off to me. I don't know. It's just not my favorite. The fixed camera. Oh my god, that's the biggest thing. Oh my god, I'm glad I thought of it. The fixed camera by far kills this game for me. It makes exploring the world so freaking annoying. Honestly, that's the worst part of the game. Not even the character models. The camera is the worst part of the game. And I think just in general, after Crack in Time, like, we get this. And it's not even, like, it's night and day. Like, it's not even close. Okay. 4th best game in the series. This is tough, man. It's between these 4, just to let everyone know. I'm not that disrespectful. Well, Oh god, this is actually okay. This is really hard, man. I gotta speak facts to the people, man. What are the facts, man? What are the facts? You know what? I'm gonna do it. I think Deadlock's the 4th best game in the series. Alright. Come at me. Alright. I think it's better than Tools, and I think it's better than Up Your Arsenal. Again, I'm really high on games that shake up the formula and actually succeed. I'm really a sucker for evolution, and this game was very good. Granted, there are still aspects of the formula that I miss. The lack of exploration is definitely there. A lack of having Clank at all is definitely there, right? But what other problems do I have? Oh yeah, the planets aren't that detailed in general. That kind of goes to the lack of exploration though. But for me, the gameplay and the characters are just really fun. The commentators over the arena battles. What was his name? Run, Ratchet, run. But I forget who said it. What was his name? Dang it, I forget. Anyway, I actually think it has the best co-op experience of all the games, primarily because the gameplay is so fun. It has top 3 best weapons, and that's honestly just because of the mod system, which is the best in the series in my opinion. The amount of things you can do I think the game only had like 10 weapons, I think. But the fact that all of them had such great mods, like combinations were endless. What was good? Oh, Fox was a pretty good villain too. Don't get me wrong, villains were like relatively one note in Ratchet in general. They're either like very over the top or just like conniving, I guess. Some have their moments where they're like sarcastic and things like that, but most villains are pretty one note. But I think Fox fit his game probably more than any other villain. His like greedy capitalistic nature, I think, fit this game more so than any other game's primary villain. Oh god, now that I'm thinking about it, do I think this game is better? We'll go back to it. Because now that I'm thinking about it, I think I might have more problems with this game than the other one. But we'll respect the ranking for now. Next up. So the 4th worst. What am I looking at here? It probably is Quest for Booty, man. It's just filler. I actually don't mind the game at all. But like, it's essentially just Tools of Destruction DLC. And I feel like everyone kind of felt that way when it came out. I think the only thing this game did was like the wrench tether. I think that was new, but beyond that, and now, okay, let me not just breeze by that. The wrench tether was like great for the series. Because the wrench actually needed a freaking use. It was getting old, but that was about it. The weapons overall were pretty bad in my opinion. I mean, you don't even get that many and you don't really level them up easily because the game is so short. Honestly, the worst part about this game to me is the story. We talked about it a little with Crack in Time. The fact that Tailwind gets nothing in this game is crazy. Like, not even the smallest clue about her father. I think that is by far the biggest botch. And considering how she wasn't in Crack in Time, the fact that they didn't give her anything is like borderline criminal, honestly. Honestly, that made me hate the game. I remember when I beat it and it set up Crack in Time, I'm like, what? Well, where's Tao? What happened to Tailwind? Because they were playing it up like she was going to get something. Because I'm pretty sure there was a couple cutscenes about her father, but we ended up getting nothing. So yeah, that's terrible. I feel like if the game was longer, they probably would have done something with her. But is it a bad game? No. But would I play it again? Probably not. Do I particularly like it? Not really. It's just more tool. Like if I want to play this game, I'm gonna play Tools, honestly. Okay, 5th best game. We'll talk about the original later. We'll get to that. Tools of Destruction or Up Your Arsenal. That's kind of what I'm thinking right now. Which one do I like more? If I had to play one again. Okay, let me start with this. Let me speak facts to the people. I think both of these games are actually kind of overrated. Slightly overrated. Even by me. I remember when I first played through all the Ratchet games, this was actually my top 2. Tools of Destruction and Up Your Arsenal. And now they're on the bottom half of the top 5. Now I'm thinking about it. Hold on. We're going to do that. And we'll talk about tools in a second. So up your arsenal. Again, I felt like it was kind of overrated, but that was mainly because I used to have it 1, and I feel like I meet a lot of other people and talk to a lot of other people that also have it like 1 or 2. I don't think it's that high, but I still think it's very good. It's probably, and this may be nostalgia, it probably has my favorite weapons in the game, like weapon collection in the game, in the series. Really like the lava gun, the bouncer, the spiral, the jelly weapon, the black hole. Like, I just really like the weapon collection. But again, more so nostalgic because this was my favorite game for a long time. I think it probably has the best quirk in the series as well, in terms of his like arc. Because he goes from like a monkey and then coming back to lead the Q Force, and then he actually kind of gets redemption. I think is great. My main issue with this game is it's just I don't want to say it's presentation because the game looks fine, but I think the uniqueness and variety of planets, especially from like Ratchet 1 to Ratchet 2, I feel like they're very much lacking in Up Your Arsenal. Like, I feel like a lot of the worlds have like the same color tone. Like, besides like what, Planet Dax, like pretty much every world is dark. It uses like black and gray colors. Low saturation on places like, what is it called? Meridia? The place where you meet the president for the first time, I think. That had that first little level mini games that you get like the all the bolts from, then you get that reflecting thing that reflects beams. That level, I think it's called Meridia. I may be wrong. I forget. But even that world, it had just like it had like orange and yellow, but they were like darker orange and darker yellow. I just think the game in general was just like oddly dark colored, with the exception of like Dax. Now, that's not to say I don't like any planets. I think Kronos is really good. But also in regards to the planets, a lot of them are linear as hell. That's another thing. It doesn't have like the lack of exploration of Deadlocked, but Jesus, like there's not a lot of like things to do and like paths to explore off of like a mission. That is not tied to a mission, excuse me. But that's pretty much my only complaint. Dr. Nefarious and Lawrence, top tier, obviously. Villain, like I said before, villains are one note in Ratchet, but Dr. Nefarious is just, he's one note and entertaining, which is fine. And that's why I like him. And him getting paired with Lawrence, who constantly like makes subtle jabs at him, while also being like relatively loyal to him, I think is fantastic. The story overall was okay. Honestly, I think the game succeeded most when it came to the Q-Force and how they interacted, like their small little quips to each other. That was by far the best writing in the game, period. The soundtrack, I'm trying to remember. I feel like the soundtrack was mid. I'm pretty sure Metropolis was okay, because it's like, that's Metropolis, Kerwan, like that's always going to be good. But other than that, I can't really see any like memorable tracks really. So yeah, everything about this game is pretty good. I just don't like the planets that much overall, and I just think the linearity of them and their color palettes were just not indicative of the game. So I technically have less problems with this than I do Deadlocked, so we'll put it over Deadlocked. Again, I'm speaking facts. If you disagree, I do not care. I do care. Please let me know what you think in the comments. I'm more than happy to discuss. I always like talking to people. Anyway, 5th worst game in the series. I don't know if I should say worst, because like after this we get pretty good. What do I think is, I guess, do I think In the Nexus is better? I do. Ratchet and Clank PS4. I actually don't. Okay, I feel like this game gets a lot of undeserved hate. I'll be that guy. I think this game gets a lot of hate. Oh, gotta do this. Sorry. I think this game gets a lot of hate. Don't get me wrong, I understand why, but I feel like some of it is kind of gassing. Weapons are fine. Honestly, the thing that kills me about this game is the writing and just its overall length. It just feels rushed. The pacing's horrible. But other than that, like, it's fine. Gameplay's great. Weapons are good. I don't really dislike the I don't dislike the planet variety, but compared to the original, obviously it's not better. But yeah, what really holds this game back is the writing and pacing in general. Ratchet and Clank's relationship is forced. Ratchet's just like this goody two-shoes that instantly befriends Clank, and they don't really go through any hardships in their relationship, which like makes no sense. I feel like Ratchet and Clank writing, I feel like it's all, well, at least writing at its best, it made like multiple characters have the potential to be like relatively humorous, or at the very least interesting. There is not one character in this game that I find interesting or like funny, honestly. I think everyone's cringy, uninteresting, or worse than their version in the original game. Drek, I think, is the worst. He's no longer a threat, which was like his main thing in Ratchet 1. I don't know why they changed him so thoroughly. He's just a joke now. Quark narrating the whole thing is just like okay, but it gets old very quickly. The writing in general just it's just bad. I don't think the voice acting's bad for what it's worth, but what they were asked to voice was horrible. So yeah. Okay, right outside the top 5, man. Tools of Destruction. Maybe a hot take. Probably is. I know a lot of people like this game a lot. But I do think, like Ratchet 3, is somewhat overrated. I don't think this game is a top 3 game in the series, honestly. The reason is very simple. For its time, the gameplay was easily top tier, but everything else was awful. Not awful. It was either mid or outright awful. The game, like, I'm gonna be real here. The only reason you think Tools of Destruction is like top 3 material is because of its gameplay and just the fact it was the first HD game. That's it. But at this point, we've had Crack in Time, we've had Rift Apart, so we've had other HD games. Not to mention, both of these games play better from this one. Now, granted, for its time, it was the best playing Ratchet and Clank game. We'll give it that, by far. But other than the gameplay, nothing about this game is top 5 material, in my opinion. Writing is mid, characters are mid. I don't think Zephyr, Kronk, or Talon are all that interesting. And as I said before, Talon gets relatively no treatment, despite the fact that she is the most interesting of the 3. The story in general, the fact they have to retcon stuff, like it just got weird. The pirates are the best characters in the game, period. I think they're even better than Ratchet and Clank. Which is weird because like Ratchet low-key regressed, which literally made no sense. Like the fact that Ratchet doesn't trust what Clank does or says is like mind-boggling. Like I literally thought we were back in Ratchet 1. Like I could not tell you why Ratchet never believed Clank. It just made no sense. Ship section's relatively weak. I think they're worse than Ratchet 2, in my opinion. That's just me. Honestly, this is another thing. I think the weapons are overrated as well. I think they get old very quickly, and I don't think any of them stand out all that much. I'll be honest. Now, the planet variety and the overall length of the game is very good. I definitely like the planet variety. And being the first HD game, it obviously looks great. Sargasso is dope. We know this. It actually, I'll give it this as well. I think it has the best like first impression of any Ratchet and Clank game. Like in terms of like that first level, like Metropolis, where you get shot down after your like thing stops working, like the thing that Ratchet and Clank was riding in the intro. Then you're set in Metropolis, have that banger music playing. Then in HD, just seeing all the details in Metropolis while you're going around the city. Absolutely. That is top tier. But besides that, like, Yeah, the gameplay's great. It looks great. But at this point, we've had better looking games and better playing games. And everything else surrounding that gameplay is mid or bad. So, outside the top 5 in my opinion. Next up, into Nexus. I actually like this game a lot. I actually did not finish it for a long time. It took me a while to get to this one. I don't know why. I think the weapons are underrated. I don't see anyone talking about the weapons of this game all that much. I think the weapons are really good. Granted, it continues the story. Have that whole Dimensionator thing. I mean, that's fine, I guess. It's fine. Just not my favorite. Gameplay's great. Presentation's great. Like, that's not really an issue. Kronk and Zephyr, rip. We love them. Towin, again, nothing. That's annoying. I don't know. Like, I don't really have problems with this game, which is why it's B tier. I don't really have problems with this game. There's just other games that are better. There are games that excuse me, Jesus Christ. There are games that have a better story, better weapons, better soundtrack, better writing, better planet variety, better length while maintaining said quality. I don't really have a problem with this game. I don't have anything that I outright hate about it. It's just like not my favorite, really. I will say the villains of this game came around on me. The twins, they kind of came around on me. But I think the whole gimmick the game had was just weird and just not my favorite. But it was still like fine. It's just like not my favorite, which is why it's mid. Lastly, the original. What is this? 3, 6, 7. Yeah. That's fine. I think everyone kind of knows that the original is great. I just like these 6 more. The main thing that kills this game nowadays is how dated it is, gameplay wise. Lack of strafing is rough. It's not that bad. The game is actually designed around it relatively well. But like, if I had to play this over like any of these, I would be upset. Gameplay is just dated. Now, the story and writing are great. Even to this day, I think this is probably one of the better written games of the series, even to this day. My only real issue is that Ratchet is annoying and kind of a jackass for a little too long. Like, it gets, like, in the beginning it works and it makes sense, but as we kept going, it was like, okay, dude, come on. We're going through all of this, you're seeing what Jesse's doing, like, can we go ahead and just admit that we need to do something here? I think he was an asshole for just a little bit too long, but other than that, I think it's great. Like I said before, Drek is a relatively one-note villain. He does have his sarcastic moments, but I just don't think he's as entertaining as, what's this called? Dr. Nefarious. And I don't think he's as intriguing of a character as Azimuth. That's pretty much the reason why he's still a good villain, just not my favorite. Weapons are, I mean, well, for its time it was pretty good, but now, relatively mid. I like the Whopper, I like the Tesla Claw, but beyond that, nothing about the, it's more nostalgic more than anything in my opinion. Planet variety, top tier, easily. Have such great levels. Pretty much all environments that you could think of are covered, really. I don't think they missed anything. In terms of planet variety, it's probably up there with Ratchet 2. Yeah, probably there with Ratchet 2. Sorry for the long pause. I had to think about it, like, do I think it's better Ratchet? Yeah, it's probably of the same caliber. It has one, although this might be nostalgia, but similar to the planets and just general writing, I think it still has one of my favorite soundtracks of the series, but it's still, that might be nostalgia, like, legitimately. The boss, oh god, the bosses, Jesus Christ. The boss, every boss besides Drek, I don't like, I'll be honest. I think Drek is the only fight that I really liked. And grant, that may be due to the dated gameplay, but I don't know, man. Just not my favorite. So yeah, the game's still good though. I think being like, honestly, for being the first game in the series that has lasted 20 years, I think if it was not mid, if it was still up here, I think the series is actually kind of overrated. I think the fact that it's here means that we've made like significant improvements and the series is actually worthy of being as good as it is. So, yep, that's my list. I spoke facts to the people as far as I'm concerned. Ratchet 2, Crack in Time, Rift Apart, Up Your Arsenal, Deadlocked, Tools of Destruction, the original, Into the Nexus, PS4 Remake, Quest for Booty, All for One, Full Frontal Assault, Size Matters, and then I did not play Secret Agent Clank going mobile or before the Nexus, but based on what I hear, they're all trash too. They're all D tier, so... I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, by the way. Really helps me out. I think we're close to 100 subscribers, actually. So, hey, be one of the original hundo, all right? But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. I really love the Ratchet community. I love talking to everyone from it, so let me know what you think. This is The Average Gamer, signing off. See you guys.